All right, week 2, Bears Texans grades. Let's be realistic about this game. It was actually half good, and those halves came at different parts in the game, not all in one half of the game. But the Bears did keep the Texans to below 20 points, which is one of the keys to the game that I said. Another key that I said was Jaquan Brisker needed to have a big game, and you'll see in this video he did. The line needed to have a big game, and they did not. And the running game had to get established, and they did not. So let's pick this sucker apart. This isn't always to just do analysis on everything. This isn't always to make a sure straight line analysis on everything. A lot of this is just to point things out. And here's the offensive studs of the games. Anybody above a 65, I like to point out. This is all based off the PFF grades. For who don't know about what I do here, I do this each week. I do PFF grades for the week. I point them out so you guys can see them. It dispels some of the narratives. It also creates other narratives, not as many as it dispels. And then it helps to give a clear picture. Now, there's a lot of people that are harping on Tevin Jenkins and Coleman Shelton. Just like last week, a couple bad plays, but these two actually had good games. Khalil Herbert, look at his total snap count right there, right below the gray part. It says total 6. 6. 6 total snaps and 68.7 grade, the second highest grade on the entire team. When your highest grade on the team is a 72.7 for the week on the offensive side, the defensive side had some higher grades. But if it's the highest one, the 72.7, that's not a good week. We like to highlight anybody around 65, above 65, and usually this list is 10, 11, 12 people long. And I always say the elite guys of the game are above 90. Above 80, you like to have a couple of them. We had none on the offensive side of the ball. So it's not a good week for the offense. Didn't look good. Not going to sit and harp on any one spot for too long, but I am going to point things out. I'm going to move right into pass blocking and run blocking because a lot of people are talking about that, and it does need to get established for this team to do better. But look at the pass blocking and notice who's at the top of the entire thing. There's nobody. This is all the players for pass blocking. There's nobody that's an offensive lineman that's even in the top 3. But then you get to 4 is Braxton Jones. He had a good pass blocking game. He did have one that he let up there, but the left side of the line was not a problem. I'm going to try to do some all-22 film this week if I don't get too upset over it. But the clear and obvious problem was the right side of the line. And you look down there, Darnell Wright with a 39. This is his worst game as a Chicago Bear. A 39 PFF grade on his pass block on the right side. And then Nate Davis, 61.5. That doesn't include all his penalties either. He had significant issues not rocking back on the rocking chair through the entire game. And Tevin Jenkins and Coleman Shelton, the only one that had a decent pass blocking game was Braxton Jones. Cole Kmet with a 17.7 is absolutely atrocious. You saw him on the one play just trip and kiss the guy's shoes, essentially. It was terrible. Not good. We move on to the run blocking, and there's the entire list for the run blockers. Your highest one's Tevin Jenkins, then Coleman Shelton, Darnell Wright, Nate Davis. The run blocking wasn't as bad, but they still couldn't get any holes going. So this doesn't show the entire picture this week because you couldn't get the holes opened up. They might not have let a ton of guys get by them, but they didn't move them out of the way either. And that's the frustrating part about this. If you can't create those lanes, if you can't open it up, you're not going to be able to establish a run game. The last couple of years, the Bears have been top in the league. Now we're bottom 5 in the league, and it's not going to work long term. And then we move on to offensive duds. And you've got Nate Davis with an overall grade of 52.2. You got Darnell Wright with an overall grade of 49. Caleb Williams overall grade of 45.1. Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, who are supposed to be our blocking tight ends, overall grades of 41 and 35. Just not a good game. DeAndre Swift, our main running back, look at his total snaps, 46, and he had a 50 grade. Just not good on the offensive side of the ball. I've hammered home a little bit there. I don't blame this on Caleb Williams. I'll take just a half a second here. I don't blame it on Caleb Williams. I do blame it on the call schemes, the coaching. Absolutely. I put some of it on the line. I'm not excusing the line but this was coaching. This is absolutely Shane Waldron and Chris Morgan have the issue on this offensive side of the ball that have got to fix it. And Matt Eberflus, you're to blame too because you're the one that hired these guys. No, you get 4 weeks. You fix it, or there's going to be a mob, just like last year, when Caleb doesn't even get a chance to shine and show his generational talent, and it's because of this. That's frustrating. The defensive side of the ball was a lot different, and there's a lot more to point out. Jack Sanborn had a overall grade of 91.2. Only had 11 snaps, though, But that's what happens when you're a rotational linebacker that comes in and out with Kyler Gordon at the nickel. Depending on the play scheme, you're going to rotate out with Kyler Gordon. Then you've got Jaquan Brisker, who I said is one of the keys to the game, who had an 80.5 grade. Andrew Billings once again stepped up and had a huge game, 80.5 grade. Kyler Gordon had a good game. I also said he was a key, 75.1. Tremaine Edmonds had a good game. Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, Zach Pickens, all the way down. Darrell Taylor, Kevin Byard. These guys had decent games, but really a lot of guys really kept the Texans below 19 points. And it's all these guys at the top. They really had good grades, good games. Montez Sweat created the pressure on the big sack that we had. And then TJ Edwards is really the one that came in and blocked them out of the way for Jack Sanborn to come in and get that sack. So it was a team effort there. But really, the defensive side didn't look nearly as bad as the offensive side of the ball. And here's your duds, and you don't want to see this. Tyreek Stevenson had a clear and obvious bad game. He had a couple good plays here and there, but he was out of position the whole time. If you were listening to my live broadcast, he was 2 steps behind the receivers all the time. And I get it's Nico Collins, but if you're going to play top-tier talent, you got to bring your top-tier game. And you can't be that far off their hips. You can't be missing tackles. He missed several tackles. And Jalen Johnson didn't have a fantastic game either. He missed tackles as well. He was a little out of coverage. He still had a good NFL passer rating against him because they don't dare throw to him. But when he did get his opportunities, he didn't look the cleanest or the crispest. This wasn't the best game for the Bears overall, but the defense did still hold them to 19 points. So I'm overall happy with the defense. Move to the special teams side, and it's always fun just to point a couple of these guys out. Daniel Hardy, Khalil Herbert had really good games. Scott Daly, long snapping, did well. But then down at the bottom, Jack Sanborn, Elijah Hicks, Travis Homer, Austin Booker, Amen Ogbongbemiga, who had the false start where he took off early. That wasn't good. All these guys were right around 50 and lower, so not good grades. You guys can deduce what you want from this. Special teams did look lacking several times. They had bigger returns on us than we were putting on them. We were owned, other than our punter, we were owned on the special team side of the ball. All right, the last thing I want to show, and this is important. Let me move the logo out of the way. Boom. This is important to show because if you can't get the grounded pound game going, if you can't get the defenders out of the box, backing off, you've got to get the run game established so that Caleb can be able to mix things up and have some passing opportunities. But look, he's not even getting opportunities to go down the field. Shane Waldron has absolutely got to start mixing things up and figuring out how to get the run game going. Because look at everything outside of the orange. I've highlighted the orange there. Look at how he doesn't even get an opportunity to stretch the field at all. And this is a direct result of not getting the running game going to mix things up. The Texans felt like they knew what we were going to do on every single play. They looked like they had all of our screens sniffed out. They looked like they knew when we were going to hand it off, when we were going to drop back. And we could never get enough time established to get it deep down the field. Now, you'll hear people talking about how Caleb getting it out in 2.5 seconds and 2.4 seconds and all this, and they're comparing him to Justin Fields. There's no comparisons that should be made right now at all. I got to bring myself up for a second. It's weird sometimes to have one still scream and not talk the whole time. But when you look at that, look at how he's not stretching it down the field. That's why you're getting it out so fast. But look how successful he is when they are getting it out and when he's rolling out to the right. The only mid-range, what you're seeing is because he likes to roll out to that right side. When they call some of that play action, when they get him rolling out, he can get something rolling. But he didn't look bad in this game at all. But when he had to force it down the field with pressure down his throat, 0 for 4 deep left outside, 0 for 2 deep right outside, one interception. When you don't establish the run game, that's what's going to happen. Outside of that, he looks good. Look, 2 for 2, 4 for 5, 7 for 8, 3 for 3, 5 for 6 right behind the line of scrimmage. But that's not allowing for him to get time to establish. So there's nothing that you can deduce from this at this point other than he's 2 games in, and the coaches have got to do a better job. This isn't on Caleb Williams. In fact, let's look at entire season. So this is week 2, and I'm going to switch it right now. Here's the entire season. Same exact story. 0 for 6 deep left outside, 0 for 3 deep right outside. The 2 interceptions were obviously each from week 2. And inside of that, look at rolling out right, 3 for 3 outside right. 1 for 3, one in the other game in the middle. They did pass block better in the first game. 4 for 8, 7 for 10, 10 for 11, 3 for 3, 7 for 8. Move me off, 2 for 2. I mean, this is direct result of when you don't get the running game going, when you don't get the ground and pound going, you can't back them off. They're going to send blitzes on every single play. So the grades for this have to be taken with a grain of salt, and that's something we'll explain as we go through the season. Caleb is not to blame for what's happening right now. If you watch that first half of the game, he actually played really smooth, really well. He was clicking, everything was in motion, going smoothly. We went into halftime and you said, oh, hopefully we can get adjustments done. That's what we were all saying. I said it on my live feed. Hopefully we can get the adjustments going. What happened? The Texans, with DeMeco Ryan, who's a brilliant defensive-minded coach, made his adjustments. The Bears did too. Matt Eberflus did a good job and made some defensive adjustments, and we actually held them the entire third quarter. Nobody scored. We held them as well. But when they were able to get the pressure and stop all the runs and not let anything get flowing, continued into the third quarter, then they could just blitz and blitz and blitz, and there was pressure nonstop on Caleb, and it's a miracle that he played as well as he did. So if you want me to give Caleb a grade, even though he had a 49 PFF overall grade, I'd still give him a B/C for this game, a B minus C plus. The 2 interceptions he wishes he could take back. At the end of the game, you saw his ribs were hurting. He was hunched over. He was under pressure every single play. It got to him. There wasn't anything he could do, and it was frustrating. I don't know the mentality he was going through. I'm not trying to speak for him, but you could see it, and he was visibly off. He was throwing like Jordan Love at the end of the game. He was missing receivers by 4 or 5 yards. You saw the frustration from DJ Moore at the end of the game when he was going out for the out route. He had 5 yards between him and the outside, between him and the sideline, and he separated from his defender, and Caleb missed him by 3 yards. He was short 3 yards. And DJ stood up, and he was visibly frustrated. I was too. I'm sure Caleb was too. That's a direct result of the pounding that he took in the second half. When the quarterback goes through that, when they're not able to sit in their pocket like the Packers quarterbacks do, like the Lions quarterback do, like the Buccaneers quarterbacks do, they don't have the ability to relax and get in a flow. Luke Getsy is what I was about to say, and it felt very fitting. Shane Waldron and Chris Morgan have got to figure this out now. No, this is not something fans need to be patient with because it's not a personnel, it's not a player issue. This is not a Caleb Williams issue. This is not a Coleman Shelton issue. This is not even Tevin Jenkins. I mean, this is how they're being coached. There were several times where they were double and triple teaming one guy on the line, allowing for the stunts to be exposed. That's coaching. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by that. So they've got to fix it. They've got time to do it. We're 1-1. Luckily, we're 1-1, so there's still time to do it. But as far as the PFF grades go for this, that's what I want to explain. Is there's some things you can take from this and some things you need to deduce and understand why from watching film and looking at stats as well. So it's a combination of stats and film and putting them all together. And hopefully I can do a good job of explaining the best I can for you guys so you can have an understanding of this as well, because this is how I see it. I don't see Caleb as the problem. I don't see him being the issue in this situation. Him being inaccurate at the end of the game is after a full straight quarter of being pounded and escaping for his life and running and just the issues of not being able to help him sit back there and be a rookie that needs to develop. That's what I think about it. Let me know your guys' thoughts, though. Am I off on this? Do you guys feel good about the defense still? I do. I feel good about the defense. There's some things I want to see cleaned up. But remember, the Texans are a very high-powered offense, and we did a good job adjusting and keeping them to 19 points. How do you feel about the offensive line? I know there's a lot of hatred towards the line right now, and people are calling for heads, and they want to see new players, and blah, 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 blah. Connor Williams did not have the best game in Seattle yesterday. He didn't have the best game either. To me, we don't have terrible personnel on the line. Nate Davis was extremely undisciplined. Nate Davis rocking back and forth and being off on everyone and being the one who taps for the count and still jumping early once he tapped. I mean, there were inexcusable things with Nate Davis, and I'm not happy about Nate Davis's play. Coleman Shelton is still acceptable to me. Acceptable. He didn't have a great game, but he's acceptable. And I don't want to switch a rookie quarterback out from his center that he's built cohesion with. Tevin Jenkins is fine, but he needs to step up his game if he wants an extension. 100%. Braxton Jones was okay. Darnell Wright probably had his worst game. I don't hate our line. I give them a pass, but I do not give Chris Morgan and Shane Waldron a pass from this week. They are the ones to blame, in my opinion, and they need to right the ship right now. With that, dabears.